بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله وكفاه والصلاة والسلام على رسوله المصطفى وعلى عباده الذين ارتضى ومن بهداهم اهتدى وبآثار أهل المدينة اقتفى وبعد فالسلام الله عليكم أهلا وسهلا people to Fast and Fiqhious. Alright, we're going to be taking a look at a question today, and I think it's an important question, and it's to do with Niyyah. That can I explain the rulings of the Niyyah, as in what people... Niyyah means intention, and I just want to clarify for many people what we tend to get often is something like a Ramadan timetable, and it will have with it, let's say, a Niyyah, that nawit or whatever, bisawmi ghadin or whatever it is, or anwi the sawm, or however they want to say it. Niyyah is actually an intention, which is not an action that you have to carry out. Okay, so just to clarify that, there is no such thing as having to kind of utter your intention. Although the ulama, some ulama have allowed it, many have allowed it for, especially for people who maybe suffer from things like OCD or maybe prone to waswasa and stuff like that, that they may say an intention to themselves. You don't actually utter an intention to do something. So if I'm about to pick up this book now, I don't make an intention that I'm intending to go and pick that book up. I just do it. So that is what an intention is. So I'd just like to share with you from a text, actually, from the Qurtubiyyah by the commentary of Ibn Zarruq. Now, the Ahmad Zarruq, he, after stating the fara'id of the fast, of what they are, the obligations, he mentions in the actual Al-Qurtubiyyah that فَرَائِدُ الصَّوْمِ أَتَتْ مُسَطَّرَةً فِي سُورَةٍ مَعْرُوفَةٍ بِالْبَقَرَةِ, that the obligations of the fast have come well kind of written out and illustrated. And he mentions in the surah known as Surah Al-Baqarah, فَرُوضُهُ خَمْسٌ أَتَتْ مَرْوِيَّةً مَعْرِفَةُ الشَّهْرِ وَثُمَّ النِّيَّةِ, that they are 5 obligations which have come narrated, that knowing when the month actually begins is one, and then niyyah. Then he mentions وَالْمَنْعُ مِنْ أَكْلٍ وَمِنْ مَشْرُوبٍ وَعَنْ جِمَاعٍ بَيِّنٍ مَطْلُوبٍ, that and also abstinence from eating or drinking or any, he mentions, clear sexual intercourse or related act. Right now, so that's just from the Qurtubiyyah, which isn't, I know on a side note, is an awesome text, people. It's in Maliki fiqh, and it's quite an ancient text, actually, almost 900 years old, which is in verse, in poetry. And many of the ulama, like Sheikh Ahmad Zarruq, who came later on, many of these people have done commentaries on it. But anyway, coming back to this, they mention that an-niyya mahalluha al-qalb, that the intention is something which is in the heart. It's not actually something which is uttered. And he mentions in the text, فَإِذَا عَرَفَ الشَّهْرَ عَزَمَ عَلَى صَوْمِهِ فَقَدْ حَصَلَتْ. The Maliki madhab, or the school of Medina, understands that if a person makes an intention knowing that Ramadan has approached, that he or she will be fasting for the following month, that suffices. That is sufficient for the entire month of Ramadan. Now, they mention it is something which, if you were to be asked, what are you doing? Why have you woken up at sahur time? What are you doing? Why are you eating? And you responded by saying, well, because I'm going to fast. That means you've had niyyah for your fast. That's all it is. You do not have to read something. And I'd like to share with you what Sheikh Ahmad Zarruq actually brings here, transmitting from Imam Mazari, who is another don within the Maliki madhab. He mentions, قال Mazari, ذكرت النية في الصوم وحكمها, that he says, I mentioned that what niyyah was, like he's speaking وحكمها, and I mentioned its ruling. فقال شيخ كبير, and he was approached by a sheikh who says, يا سيدي منذ 70 سنة أصوم ولا أنوي. So an old man approaches Imam Mazari and he says to him that since 70 years I have been fasting and I've never kept, like I've never intended it like that. I've never kept the intention or made the niyyah. فقلت, so Mazari says, he says, كنت تعرف أنه الشهر. He says, you used to know that it was the month of Ramadan. دخل, that it had entered upon you. وتعزم على صوم, and you knew that you had to fast and you were determined to do so. He says, قال نعم. The person says, yeah, like, duh, obviously I knew it was Ramadan and I was going to be fasting. And he says, قلت هذه هي النية. He said, this exactly is the intention that we're talking about. That is the intention. Then Imam Mazari himself writes, وَأَجِبْتُ مِنْ كَوْنِهِ يَعْتَقِدْ أَنَّ النِّيَّةَ تَفْتَقِرُ إِلَى النِّيَّةِ. He says that, and I was surprised at this person thinking that intention itself requires an intention. That this is just strange. And then Sheikh Ahmad Zarruq says, قلت وهذا شأن أكثر الناس في النية. He says, and you will find that most people are actually like that when it comes to the niyyah. And he mentions متى ذكرت, that when you speak of it, يعتقدون أنها أمر زائد على القصد. They think this is something above and extra in addition to the actual intent, what you're trying to do, above intent. And he says, وَهُوَ جَهْلٌ عَظِيمٌ. And Sheikh Ahmad Zarruq says, indeed, that is like a great ignorance on behalf of people. The point is, people, that you, as long as you know you are fasting, that is fine. You do not have to utter some words. And if you did just, the ulama have allowed it, especially for people who suffer from things like OCD and obsessive thoughts, then fine. But as to the vast majority of people who are sometimes uttering a niyyah in a language they don't even understand, right? Like saying it in Arabic, like anwi or nawaitu hadha al-yawm or nawaitu sawma hadha al-yawm, or whatever it is that people write on these calendars. This is not from the Sunnah. It is not something which the Salaf practiced. Neither is it endorsed like that in the school of Medina. Right, people, with that, I leave you to it till next time. Remember me in your du'as. Wassalamu alaikum.